I'm so excited to be back with another episode of the Creative Goddess Show. My name is Charlotte and I am, of course, your host. I'm so happy that you're tuning in for another week. We are on to episode 61. Can you believe it? I just can't believe we've come this far. And I am really, really grateful that you've been part of this journey with me as I continue to share all of my little golden nuggets of wisdom every single week. And I will continue to give you everything that I've got. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about something that I thought would be really fun actually. I thought I would do an episode sharing 5 really cliche pieces of advice that have actually helped me in my creative journey. So I'm talking about those kind of one-liners that you hear all the time that are like, Rome wasn't built in a day, all of that kind of stuff. But in relation to personal development, creative businesses, and I'm going to pick 5 of those I think have just really, really helped me to almost like get things in perspective when I have been struggling, when I've maybe been too far into the tunnel and I haven't quite been able to see the bigger picture. So I think we'll get started. I think it's going to be. So the first one is, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. How many times have you heard this one? And I must admit, all the times I do hear it, I'm kind of like, yeah, I've heard that before. But the thing is, it's actually really crucial because when you are in that state of comparisonitis and you are constantly fretting over seeing what other people are doing in comparison to what you're doing, you've seen someone's really snazzy website, you've only just started yours and it looks really basic. You've got to remember that these people you're comparing yourself against, you don't know how long they've been doing what they've been doing. I mean, you might know that it's been several years more than you. Maybe it's been, maybe just like even a year longer than you. And it can't always be measured in time as well, because you've got to remember, like, we're all different. We all have different things going on in our lives. So yeah, it's about comparing those chapters. People reach different chapters at different points in their lives, right? So you've got to remember that your chapter is coming, like your later chapter is coming. It's further down the line, but it will come. You just have to stop comparing yourself to everyone else, because it's about enjoying the journey as well. And it's not about thinking that there's an end point in your creative business or whatever you're pursuing at the moment. Okay, so we're on to number 2 now. And I've chosen tomorrow is an opportunity for a fresh start. How good is that? And how many times have you heard this when you have had a bad day and other people will just say, well, you can get back on it tomorrow. And I feel like in the workplace, that was a lot easier for me because I was very much working specific hours of the day between like 9 and 5:30. And I could kind of go home and just like leave it till tomorrow until I've had my sleep and I've woken up feeling more refreshed. However, in a business, this can be a tricky one to navigate because it can be more difficult to switch off when you have so much creativity and passion for what you do. However, I do feel like this is a really, really solid piece of advice, because on those days when you are struggling in your business, guess what? You have the choice to stop. You have the choice to do something else and put that aside for the day. If you are really struggling, there is absolutely no need for you to carry on that day. You don't want to burn yourself out. And I know what it's like when you feel like you're just working all the time. You've got all these ideas in your head and they just won't stop. And this can actually lead to us burning out, essentially. So on those days where you are feeling like you're hitting a brick wall, things just aren't working out for you, things are just not flowing in the way that you'd hoped, and you just feel like it's just not going to happen, essentially. It is perfectly okay for you to take a break and just put it to one side and just say, look, I've had a bad day, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to acknowledge it, and then to have a nice reset overnight, have a relaxing evening, have a really good sleep, wake up the following morning just feeling more refreshed and feeling like you can really just go for it now. And it will never feel as bad the following day as well. That's the thing. If you have the, luxury of being able to stop that work and just be able to put it to one side, it will never feel as hard as it did on that day. The following day, you will come back feeling so much better. And that is something I have learned so much. Okay, so number 3, take action now, tweak later. How does that sound? And I know that you're probably very tired of me going on and on about taking action and how important it is to just do it and not overthink things, because this is such a huge thing for me where I have been a huge overthinker in my life. Honestly, I just go round and round in circles. My head is just full of that kind of stuff, right? But I have found that if you take the action quickly enough, you are not going to experience those negative thoughts as much, those kind of limiting beliefs that you might have cropping up. You won't have that as much if you take the action quickly. So when you have that sparkly, lightning strikes idea, make sure you act on it. Don't sit around thinking about it for weeks or months, because you will start to overthink it, trust me. And the best thing that you can do is just to put it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one is expecting you to be perfect. And then, guess what? You can change it later. You can make as many changes as you want. Just see it as a first draft. But, if you don't put it out there as well, you're not going to be helping the people that you wanted to help. They're not even going to know about it. So remember that there's always a benefit to you taking that action, putting it out there, than there is to sort of keeping it in your head as an idea for the future maybe. There's always a plus for taking the action, and there is always an opportunity to change it later. Okay, so number 4 now. Don't let your past define your future. Now this one is really, really big for me. One of the most recent things that happened to me was feeling like a failure at work, essentially, in my corporate job a few years ago. I had a couple of bad experiences, you might say, and they led me to feel like I just didn't have any confidence anymore. I didn't feel like I was capable. I didn't feel like I was actually good enough to do the job. And I know that that's not true. But because of what happened and what the events were that ended up leading to me leaving that job and that profession, actually made me feel like I had been a failure. And as someone starting a new business immediately after something like that happening, that's quite a difficult thing to do. When starting a business, it does require confidence. It requires self-belief in your ability, and it really requires a lot of tenacity. And I felt like I was very drained from the experience. I felt like my confidence had hit that low. So it wasn't easy to really transition from that point of my past, the events that had happened. Probably couldn't control some of those events too, and what my future was going to be. So it's taking me a while to overcome that experience and the kind of beliefs that I've associated with that experience in my head as well, and in my unconscious mind. It's taking a lot to detach from those, because I'm trying not to let that define my future, right? But it's easier said than done. You can always prove yourself wrong, essentially. So if you have a belief about something that is to do with something that's happened in your past, and you've given it a negative association with yourself, and it's made you feel like you are, maybe you are a failure, maybe it's a similar situation to the one I've experienced, then prove yourself wrong and look out for the things that are proving that you are actually a success. You don't have to take an event from the past, whether it's a previous failure in business, maybe something didn't work out, even in a relationship. You don't have to let that define you and where you're going. You can always prove yourself wrong. So these things happen to me, but they're not me, and the future is going to be different. And the final, number 5, piece of cliche advice that has helped me is community is everything. And I must admit, in the beginning, I was like happy as Larry, working away on my computer in my business. I mean, for the first maybe couple of months or so. And it was quite nice in a sense because I had my own space. I quite like having solitude at times as an introvert. That is very appealing to me. But trust me, you reach a point where you need community. You can't survive without community in business because you need to have that support around you. And whether you are someone who is outgoing, extroverted, whether you are someone who is totally introverted and you don't even like talking to people that much, trust me, community is something that will help you a lot. So whether it's finding an online community space of like-minded people who are on a similar journey to you, then there will be plenty available. It's all about just digging into, online groups, Facebook groups, and seeing what is going on there. Because having, for a start, that accountability, having that support, the empowerment that it gives you, knowing that there are others who are experiencing very, very similar hurdles along their journey, that is going to help you so, so much. And it helps me a lot too. I went on a networking call this morning in the Female Entrepreneur Association that I'm part of, and that's my online community space. And I hadn't been able to go to a few recently, but going to that just made me realize again how important community is in a creative business, because you can drive yourself mad, like on your own, sitting there at your desk, at your computer, trying to figure all of the stuff out. But when you actually have a community to tap into and to help you, give you advice, support you in any way whatsoever, that really, really takes some of the load off. And they will uplift you on the days when you feel like you are at the bottom of the hill. You will always come out with a nugget, a piece of advice, a tip that they have tried when they were in a similar position to you. Or you might just get, yeah, I know, it sucks, doesn't it? There's, a lot of empathy going on. There's a lot of support. So make sure you go and join an online community group or an in-person community group. If you check out your local area, you might see groups for the kind of thing that you're doing, whether that's entrepreneurial groups or maybe that's creativity in crafts, or whether it's music, just so you have that kind of space to just talk about what's going on and get inspiration and ideas. Those are my 5 pieces of advice that are quite cliche, but have helped me so much in my business journey as a creative. And they've just really helped me to keep going and put things back in perspective again, which is something that I think a lot of us struggle with. It's that perspective sometimes when we're kind of like, we can't see the wood for the trees because we're kind of just focusing on what is directly in front of us and not being able to see that bigger picture again. We need to keep sharing our experiences with each other too, so everyone else knows that it's totally normal to feel the way that we feel. I just wanted to quickly let you know as well, I've recently qualified as an NLP practitioner, which is super, super exciting. I trained for a few months over the summer in neurolinguistic programming, and it's been my dream to create a brand new transformational one-on-one coaching program. And it's going to really focus on helping women to really combat those mindset blocks and limiting beliefs that have been holding them back from moving themselves forward in life and discovering that creative passion inside of them that will help them feel more fulfilled. I couldn't be more excited about it. But I just wanted to let you know that I will be releasing an introductory offer. So make sure you join the waitlist in the show notes below and get yourself signed up so you don't miss out on that introductory offer. So yeah, I really hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will be back next week with another episode of The Creative Goddess Show. All right, take care. Bye.